Hello guys, in this video we will talk about creating clarity and organization in your finances. For some people, talking about money and working with money comes easily and maybe naturally, but for other people it doesn't come easy and it's kind of not very pleasant. But in this moment, no matter if we like it or not, society is organized in a way that we need to think about money. And as everything else, if we want to understand a topic better and manage it better, we need to first create kind of clarity and awareness around this topic. In reality, a lot of people haven't thought about money. Maybe you haven't thought about how much you spend, for what exactly you are spending, what really makes sense for you to spend on, what doesn't make sense to you to spend on. Maybe haven't thought about how much you can save or how much you can invest, and investing is a totally entirely other topic. And yes, if you don't have clarity about all of that, you still can live, obviously, but whenever you are managing something unconsciously, most probably you're wasting your resources, and sooner or later that will catch up with you. If you are not responsible with your money, that will start showing up at some point. So my idea of this training is to create importance for you about the topic of finance, to create kind of urgency for you to look at your finances, to think about them, to create better understanding about managing your money, and maybe find a way to do that is actually pleasant for you. And I think it's important to understand that it's not mostly about creating a budget and following a budget. I myself don't create a budget, but it's more about creating clarity about your money and start thinking about ways to use your money with intention and eventually grow your money with intention. No matter if you have a lot of money or very little money, no matter if you think you are good with money or you think you are bad with money, the idea is to create clarity, awareness, and organization in your finances so you can start making better decisions about your money. This is part of a free YouTube series for creating a clear vision and an organized plan for your life ahead. You can find a link with all of the topics so far in the description below. So before I show you the form for organizing your finances, I want to share several things that happen with us that sometimes prevent us or create resistance in us to work in our finances. The idea is to know those things, to start noticing them, and when we notice them, we can more easily let them go. The first thing is that we don't actually think about our money. A lot of people. I mean, not that we think something negative or positive about money, we don't think about them at all. It's something that just happens somehow. We just don't think about it. And I think the main reason for that is most probably nobody around you talk about money. Not your family, not your colleagues, not your friends. Basically, when nobody around you talk about this, for you this topic is not important, so you don't give it any attention. And basically one of the biggest differences between people who have money and who doesn't have money is that people who have money talk about money. They heard that from their family, their friends, their surroundings, and this is something normal for them. It's something important for them. They research it, they learn about it, they experiment with it. And for people who never talk about money, it becomes sometimes something that is shameful to talk about. It's something not important. And as I said, we just don't think about it. For most of us, we eventually start to learn more about money and even about investing around when we are 40 or 50 years old, which is better than never. But can you imagine if you started to think about money and investing in from super early young age, sitting on the table with your family, for example? You would be able to maybe make a lot better decisions throughout your life so you can be in a better situation. That's why if you have children, I think it's quite important to start thinking and talking about money with them and pass that knowledge to them so they can make better decisions for themselves about money instead of continuing this not speaking about money at all, leaving them to manage this topic somehow. The second thing I wanted to point and to create a bit of awareness is when you tell yourself maybe that you have small amount of money, so organizing on managing your money doesn't matter. And here again, I think the main reason this is happening is that we haven't created a big importance around the topic of money, because if we realize the importance of the topic, we will naturally want to learn about it and optimize it, no matter if we have a small amount of money or we have a lot of money. To me personally, I think that if you cannot manage small amount of money, you won't be able to manage that much well big amounts of money. And in many ways, it's better to start organizing and experimenting with your money when you have small amount of money, so the mistakes you make are little and you can learn from them, because when you have more money, the mistakes usually become a lot bigger. So here, I think the most important thing is to create understanding that it doesn't matter if you have 200, 2,000 or 20,000 or more. What matters is to have clarity about it, to know where you spend, to consciously decide if you are okay with it, because many people don't realize for what exactly they are spending their money till they have it black on white. And you cannot make conscious decisions if you don't have clarity. And I really think that if you can't manage small amount of money, you won't be able to manage very well big amounts of money. So no matter if you have very little or you have a lot, it's good to start building knowledge, building this habit of creating clarity and managing your money in a better way, so you can make better decisions about your money. This way you also build confidence to work with your money and kind of even desire to improve this area. And the third thing that I want to point here is the fear of thinking about your money. When I talk to people, sometimes I see this fear about seeing what exactly is happening with your money. This fear may come from the fact that we don't want to face our financial situation because we don't know what to do about it, or we feel we can't do anything about it and it's just more easy to not think about it. Sometimes thinking about money can be even painful mentally and emotionally, because we make it mean that we are a failure having what we have, or we make it mean that where we are is shameful, or things like that. And sometimes we think that it's too difficult and too confusing to manage our money, so we procrastinate it, and again, we don't think about it. No matter where this fear comes from, know that it's totally normal to have this fear, especially if you're one of those people who never spoke about money, or money is a topic that you connect with a lot of tension, arguing, or something like that. I think the most important thing here is to notice if you have that kind of fear, and instead of just instinctively shutting down the topic of money, to consciously decide that you actually want to see what is happening with your money, because you understand that in order to start making better decisions about your money, you need to first create clarity about it and then think about ways to improve it, and even to get inspired to do that. Maybe you can make a consultation with someone, or you can find a group for finances where you can join and listen what other people do, so that way you also create some understanding and clarity about the topic of money, and with time to develop this interest about money. Because when the topic of money becomes more and more familiar, we naturally start to be interested in it, because when a lot of people around us talk about it, we create this sense of importance. My point of talking all of this that I said is to start being aware if some of those things are happening with us, not thinking about money, thinking that we have too much or too little to organize, or having this fear of seeing what exactly is happening with our finances, and consciously deciding to move forward with creating clarity and organization in our money. Creating clarity and a plan, no matter if it's in life or in finances or any other area, create this feeling of peace, because you know what is happening, you have a directions, and you have a better sense of control. Yes, you cannot control everything, but when you have a plan, you have something to align to. Your brain has a direction to organize its thinking process. Okay, so now I will show you the structure in the Excel spreadsheet and in the Live software about the budget. I will give you some directions, and then you can start filling your budget from today or from tomorrow. Especially for money, the clarity cannot happen in your head. You absolutely need something to write things down. As usual, when I show you the form and when I give you directions, take what is helpful for you and ignore the things that doesn't fit for you, or you can change them in a way that will be most helpful for you. If you haven't choose a tool for your vision and for your finances, there is a link in the description below with the 3 options that I'm giving for this training. Okay, this is the form in the Excel spreadsheet. In the first part is profit. Here is some management tips. Here are the expenses. Here saving and investments. I will talk about it when we go to the Alive software a little bit more. Just here I want to show you how it looks like in the Excel spreadsheet, but it's basically the same in the Alive software. So for the Alive software, I wanted to, I created basically a new account because I wanted to show you how to add the budget. When you go in the left menu and you click Control and right button, there is new, and then you add budget and you add the year that you want to do a budget for, let's say 2026, and you click create. Then it asks you for a permission because the form is actually in a Google Drive, and when you give this permission, it connects with your Google Drive. That's where you need to have a Google account. It connects with your Google Drive and place the finance budget Excel spreadsheet in your drive, so you can use it in the Alive software through your drive. So then you hit here allow, and sometimes I noticed that for different people it asks for different permissions, but just wanted to tell you that maybe it will look different for you. I will do it now. So allow here, and then you allow the connection, and then again sometimes you need to do it budget 2026 create, and it connects you with some of your Google accounts. For example, I will take this one. You click on the account that you want to create this budget for, create. Okay, so it actually basically already did it here. And when we go here, you can see that this is a Google document, Google Excel spreadsheet. If you want to see it like from this with December, you can just click here and see the whole file. But I usually like to see this left side menu, so maybe I can do it a little bit here, just to, I want to see all of the months in my screen. So I can do a little bit like this. So in order to see it on the screen, I will just move this a little bit, and we can see all of the, just to have it all in the screen. Okay, so the first part is profit. Here you just write down the profit you have from a salary, from a side hustle, from a business, from whatever you are doing. And usually if you have business and personal things, I have 2 separate, for business and for personal finances, because I want to keep them separate, but it's the same basically. So in this first part, you just write down the source of income that you have, maybe 1 or more. The next thing is managing money. So when I started doing budgeting and just following with my money, I started to wonder how is actually good, like good know-how to manage your money. And when I started working with people also, I got this question. So there are different ways that people suggest it's good for us to organize our money in order to be productive. And this is just one of the ways you can do it. I put it here just as an example of how is like a good example to manage your money. So here, whenever you have your profit, your total income, the savings for investments, it's good to have 10% of your income. Then it's good to have 10% for big expenses, like if you want to buy a car or a home or computer or phone, no matter what kind of bigger expenses, not just everyday expenses, you can take away from the income, you can put aside 10%. Then the basic needs is usually good to take about 40% of your income, like rent, car payments, gym membership, or whatever it is on a regular basis. Then it's good to have 10% for learning and improving some skills that you have, or learning new skills. And then 10% is good to go to pleasure, like just having fun and doing things just to enjoy yourself. And giving is 5%, like helping other people, helping charities, donate money or something like this. again, this is just an example of how is productive to manage your money. It really depends of how much money you have. Sometimes your basic needs and rent can take up maybe 70-80% of your finances at this period. So it's not that good to watch this, but it's something to kind of to know what is a good know-how and to strive for that, and even to try to optimize it. The best case is to spend very little on basic needs, and then to spend most of your money on investment so you can grow your money. But that is not the case for a lot of people. So this is kind of an average way to know what is good and what is not so good to manage your money. Personally, for me, I recently deleted that part because it wasn't serving me that much. But in the beginning, I really just wanted to know how is a good example to spend my money to. Whenever you have your profit, how it's a good way to diversify and where to put your money. So this is something that you can look at if you are curious about, and if you decided it's something that doesn't serve you that much, you can delete it. The next part is expenses. Basically, here I wrote down most of the areas that I'm spending money, but you can totally delete it. And for example, if you have your own home, you don't pay rent, you can remove that at all, or you can change something here: food, water, things for home, health and supplements, cosmetic, looks, clothes. I really wanted to know how much I spend about clothes and that kind of accessories, so I did separate thing. So if you have a car, you can put the expenses here with the gas, and if you go to the gym or anything like that. Whenever I pay for something, I almost immediately put it in this table. When I say immediately, I mean when I come home. I don't bring this Excel spreadsheet everywhere, but whenever I make a bigger, I pay for something bigger like rent, electricity, water, I go in the Excel spreadsheet and I put it immediately. But there is one thing that I called pocket money, and I did it because when I go out for a coffee or a dinner or lunch or something like this, general expense, I don't want to write everything down. I don't want to write each cup of coffee or each lunch that I'm eating. So everything else that I'm spending that is not part of those areas, I just count it as a pocket money, and I count it at the end of the month. Whenever I wrote down all of the expenses and whenever I see how much I'm left, then I can see how much I actually spent for my pocket money. So I know my income, then I see how much money I have by checking all of my accounts, and then I understand what are my spendings. And then because all of the other spendings are already filled in, I can understand very quickly how much I spent for pocket money. Here, unexpected costs, for example, sometimes I found out that whenever I want to spend money, but I don't feel like this is a good reason for spending money, then I sometimes allow myself to have a limit, like for example, $100, $200 I can spend for anything without thinking, because I trained myself so much to think about why am I spending, is it really necessary, is it intentional, and so on. And sometimes you don't want to think about all of those things and just want to buy something. But I also don't want to make stupid decisions, so I make a cap on it. Like for example, I can just spend 100 per month or 200 per month for things that I haven't thought really about if I really need them. So, or another thing is unexpected costs for example, I don't know, for car or some ticket that you got or something like that. You can put it also here. Another thing that I like to have separate is learning, mentoring, coaching. If you are buying courses, if you are having a mentor or something like this, you can also separate the money that you are giving for learning things. Pleasure, you can also divide this as a separate area, and giving also can be as a separate area. You don't have to feel obligated to give. Sometimes when I don't feel good about giving, I don't give. I usually give to causes and charities or whatever it is, or to people on the street, only if I feel like I really want to give, instead of feeling obligated. I think it's not a good intention to be giving if you don't want to give, but actually you force yourself to do it. So I think it's the giving is more about the intention behind it rather than just forcing yourself to give. So if there is some moment that you don't want to give, better don't give it. And yes, all of those areas you can change them so they fit your budget, your areas that you are spending on. And if you don't, I think it's quite kind of overwhelming to all of your spending, all of your coffee, all of small somethings that you bought, to write it down. So I really recommend to have that kind of pocket money where after at the end of the month you actually see where how much you are spending for pocket money. I don't look at that. I don't kind of create clarity where exactly those money went. But in the case of, if I see that this money are a lot more that I am thinking that I should be spending for pocket money, I would create clarity around this. But if it's something normal for the month, I would not even think about it where those money went. The next part is saving and investments. And here are the savings, and usually all of those here are formulas. Here as well are formulas, and they populate. Like when you put your profit, it will populate here, and then it will populate also how it's good to organize those money, and here it will calculate how much are you spending for the month. And then here in the savings, it's also automated. It will calculate the profit minus the expenses, and you will know how much you save for this month. Then here I created kind of saving this money. Here you can divide it for savings for investments and savings for bigger cost. Or if you have, for example, debt, you also can insert another, like here, insert another row, and you can put debt or something like this. But the idea here is when you have savings, you want to decide what to do with your savings and how much it will go for investment, how much for debt, and so on. And if this is not relevant to you, you can delete it. For example, I deleted this for myself. Like the whole thing, investing big cost, I kept only the savings, because in my mind I don't have debt, so I want to focus all of my all of my savings to put in investment. So I deleted that for myself. But sometimes when people have debt, or you have a bigger cost that you want to save for, you still want to kind of divide those things. And then the investments, if you have, depending on what kind of investments you have, you can delete some of those here. But the idea here is to check your investments throughout the month, how they change. Do they go up? Do they go down? And then you see how much investment amount you have in this particular month. And the whole thing here is calculating the savings plus the investments for the month. And of course, as I said, the biggest focus here is to have more savings so we can invest those savings and grow our money. And then here, this part here under the budget, I usually use it to write different things to remind myself or to create a better clarity. For example, one of the things you can do is to write down all of the accounts you have and to know where exactly how much money you have. Another thing that it's really good to create more clarity about is finding out your finance freedom number. So the finance freedom number is basically a number for how much money you need in order to have financial freedom, in order to be independent. And basically, when you start to follow your money, you will understand what is your average spending per month. When you usually when you have kind of 6 months of spending and you see this number here in your spending, you will have a good sense of clarity how much exactly you spend on average per month. So you know that if you have that kind of money, let's say, for example, if it's 2,000 or let's say 5,000 US dollars, if you if you spend that kind of money in the month, then this is your financial freedom number. And maybe if you see that you spend here 3,000 or 4,000, you can put a little bit more in order to know that even if there is some unexpected expense that you need to cover, you will be able to cover it. So let's say financial freedom number is 5,000 per month, and then you can start kind of play with this number in order to understand better how you can actually reach that number. And when we know that usually the average interest percentage that we can get from the market, it's usually around 7%. It can be lower, it can be bigger, depending on what you are investing on. But let's say if you have 200,000 and then you invest them and you have return of investment with 7%, you will have $1,167 per month. So for example, if some of you live in a place that this money is sustainable and you can cover all of your expenses, there are countries like that, you know that you basically need 200,000 US dollars in order to have that return of investment per year and cover your basic needs. So you are still financially free if you are living in a place that you can cover all of your needs. But let's say you live in a country that this is not impossible, so then you have to find out how much you need to have and invest in order to get the basic minimum that covers your needs. Again, here in this example, we said that we need $5,000 per month in order to cover all of our needs, even something unexpected. And then that means that you need 900,000 US dollars with the return of investment 7% in order to have that kind of money with kind of passive income. And I said kind of passive income because when you invest your money, you still need to put time in order to manage those investments in a good way. So if you are in a risky investment, you need to follow the trends, you need to follow the markets, you need to sometimes make different changes in your portfolio. And for example, let's say you need $10,000, then let's see, 2 million, and here is, let's say the average is 7%, then so we take the amount, multiply with 7%, divided by 12 months, then yes, you have $11,666. So then you need 2 million if you want to have a financial freedom number of around $10,000. And if you really want to go into details in this, you can divide the financial freedom number like a basic financial freedom, comfortable financial freedom, and full financial freedom. Like, just if you want to play with some numbers, you can divide this number in 3 different categories, so you know what is the basic financial freedom, where you have just your basic needs and you kind of cannot allow yourself to do that many things. The comfortable financial freedom is that you have your basic needs covered, but you also have money in order to spend for things that you really enjoy, do things that you like, and so on. And full financial freedom, that's basically that you can have anything that you want. The idea is just to play with numbers and see how this financial freedom looks like for you, because a lot of people have never thought about this, and I want just to present that topic and for you to create more clarity what this personal financial freedom can look like for you, and kind of maybe keep this picture in your mind, so whenever you see an opportunity and whenever you start to understand more and more things about finances, you can start to see different opportunities for yourself to take advantage and maybe improve and start following this plan for financial freedom. Okay, I hope with this topic I created a feeling of importance about the topic of money for you, and you have a little bit more desire to start creating clarity and organization in your finances. If you notice that you have some limiting thoughts or fears around this, allow yourself to have them and create clarity for yourself either way. Take breaks if it feels more uncomfortable, and you will see that with time, this topic will become more and more familiar, more comfortable, and you will actually start enjoying it. See the budget form, see if you want to change something about it so that it fits you the best for your life and the expenses you have. And I strongly suggest you start writing down your income and your expenses starting from today, or at least tomorrow. Also, play with your financial freedom number just to have that knowledge about yourself and your life and see what it takes for you to have that kind of financial freedom. Finance can be overwhelming topic, but also it can be fun and really interesting to think about, to create clarity and to try to improve on. Alright, that's about for this video. If you have any questions or comment about creating, working with this form for budgeting and finances, let me know in the comments below and I will answer them. The next video and the next training will be about mindset. We actually have only 2 more trainings left from this series. You can find a link with all of the trainings from this series about creating a clear vision and an organized plan for your life ahead in the description below. If you want to receive the training in your inbox or you want to receive any information from me, you can subscribe to my email list, link also in the description below. If this video was helpful for you, subscribe, like this video and leave a comment even if it's your favorite emoji, because this way it's the algorithm of YouTube understand that this is helpful and valuable content and it shows it to other people in order for them to create a little bit more structure, clarity and organization in their own life. I will see you in the next video.